he's been deserving. He's been fighting to stay at Juventus for a while now, but now set to finalize a deal rather that will last until 2030 with the club. This is a great sign for me, and I love seeing this. And this is something that both of us have talked about, that he is more than deserving of putting pen to paper with Juventus and sticking around for the long haul. So far this year, Weston McKennie with the club here in 25-26, 4 goals, 5 assists with Juventus. And having
talk about the positions he's played.
Well, yeah, too, and the versatility too, and just played striker and scored a goal. So that's wild to see. An assist,
he did
rather.
Not score as a striker.
But crazy to see his versatility, and I think that's certainly a big part of it.
Yeah, no, I'd agree that he's been deserving this contract for a long time. He's played really well for Juventus. He's been arguably their best player, which is weird to say that 2 Americans are the best players on arguably some of the most historic teams in Serie A, and Juventus and AC Milan. Obviously, Juventus has fallen off based on certain things that have gone on in the club. I can't get into, but Weston McKennie's been really good. He's shown his versatility. I think he's a team guy where he's going to do anything he wants for the club. He's played striker, and again, maybe we can use Weston McKennie for the USA. I don't think we should as a striker, but it depends on the game situation. And I think we have capable strikers as it is. But again, it's a reported $4 million a year, reported from Fabrizio. I would say then it's, I think 2030 is what he said. It's in the final stages. What'd you take a photo of?
Nothing.
What?
I took a picture of the Nate Wangler is an American.
I'm
gonna put that up. I'm putting that one up on social. That's the running topic on the show today for anybody who wants to hop in on Inside the Game from 9 to 11 a.m. Nate Wangler isn't American.
I should probably update that. My bad. But yeah, no.
Go ahead.
Contract's in the final stages. He's fully capable of delivering. He's delivered time and time again for Juventus. I think the fans really like him. It's just more of the Italian media and the Juventus insiders, I guess you could call them, are like, he might not make the team. He's got to prove his place again, and he just proved it time and time again, all the time.
Yeah.
It's in the final stages. It's not finalized yet, but it's supposed to be a 4-year extension, and ultimately it keeps one of our best players, one of our key players on the men's national team overseas. So this is another player we talked about, do these guys make a jump over to the MLS? Do they make that jump? And Weston McKennie was maybe one of them just based on his contract situation. But you know what? He's not doing so. It's really good to see. I'm glad he is. He's been deserving of it. And I think Juventus faithful are very happy with what he's doing. And it just proves that another American overseas is doing their thing. Does it ultimately mean we're going to win a World Cup? No. Does it mean we're going to get to a semifinal? No. Does it mean we're going to win a Copa? No. But you know what? We're getting better. We're starting to prove ourselves as, I shouldn't say a standard, but, starting to put ourselves in the conversation, I guess, in the world stage.
Alexi Lala said this when we were talking to him, and I agree, because I remember bringing this up on our show once upon a time, and that was that in 2022, the group we're going to see 4 years later in 2026 is going to look largely the same. And in 2022, the prevailing, talking point was that this is a young group. This is a young collection of American players that is probably has no business being on the field against a side like England or anybody else that they played. But they were, you could see the potential in it. And I remember thinking, okay, 2026 will be the year that this group is really tested, because we're going to have 4 more years of development. We're going to have 4 more years of seeing where their professional careers end up going. What roads do they go down? Who do they end up being with? What do they accomplish? And from where we were in 22 to where we are in 26, the maturing component of it, and seeing just how much, the more seasoning, developing in the way that we want to see, exactly in that same vein, Weston McKennie is one of those names that comes to mind, especially with the year that he's having this year. And I think it's a big difference when we look at it between, skeptics and media and what goes on the inside. When Europeans are like, the only thing that matters to us is that you produce on the field. Sometimes I think the fans are being a little disingenuous, because sometimes I think it matters to them more where you're from. Where it matters maybe not
I'd agree.
nearly as much is on the inside. And we have seen uh, Luciano Spalletti be very complimentary of everything that Weston McKennie has done, and in the most valuable way too, in my mind, in his versatility, which I think is a component of his game that I think is probably the most useful for Mauricio Pochettino in the U.S. men's national team, because having a guy that you can plug and place and knowing that he can do so many different things well, a motivated, creative Weston McKennie at his best. You talk about setting up someone like Flo Balogun or even Christian Pulisic, or just having those two kind of double up on whoever we put in that striker position, which a lot of them have looked really great. And we've talked about that. That is really, in a lot of ways, another major key for this U.S. men's national team. If McKennie can do what we believe he can do. And so that is the thing. I think there's a stark difference between what the media and the critics see and then what everybody sees on the inside. And what everybody sees on the inside at Juventus, and we've seen this not just from Luciano Spalletti, but everybody else involved in that organization, is they kind of admire the kid and what he can do. And the fact that he is an American and he is at a historical club like that shows that the 2022 version of what we saw to Weston McKennie was just the tip of the iceberg. Now we've actually seen what he has developed into. And so, I think it gets me excited. Yeah, for him personally, and I think the idea of him potentially coming back to the United States to begin with, I think was just a fantasy. I think it's another thing where it was like, if he did come back, it would be great to see him here. It would be great to have him here. Obviously, American fans would welcome him with open arms, but I think we're just starting to see Weston McKennie break into that next level. And so it would be really hard for someone like him to justify coming back stateside. Josh Sargent, who we can certainly talk about, a little bit of a different story, and there are good and bad that comes with all of that. Obviously, I think the World Cup dream is fading a little bit for him. But when we look at Weston McKennie, he really is just getting started. And so I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what he looks like at Juventus until 2030. And who knows? Maybe he eventually gets to a Champions League side or a Premier League side. I could certainly see that for the kid. But yeah, they love him over there, and they've certainly fallen in love with his skill set. And Luciano Spalletti has been, like I said, he's been vocal about it. We've talked about it many times on this show, so it's good to see for him.
No, I would agree. He deserves it. He's been nothing but great for Juventus. And when they're like, dude, can you play this position? Can you play this position? Goes out there and kills it. And sometimes I feel like I have seen in certain spots where a midfielder can play a striker role pretty decently, just based on like
Yeah.
the situation of the game and passing it. I was actually one of them for my high school team for like
Nice.
half a season, which made zero sense, but I tried my best. But no, I think Weston's a guy that, he goes out there and gives it his all every single time. And he's shown it not only for Juventus, not only for Schalke way back in the day, Leeds United back in the day, and then obviously for the U.S. men's national team. And yes, would I like to see a Weston McKennie back in the MLS at some point? Yes. I would love to see Weston McKennie at some point. But it can't be right now. It's got to be when he's like 33, 32, maybe 34 years old, if he's still kicking it around then. But I'm just glad that we have another American that is constantly performing really well at a high level. He's doing it in the Champions League. He's doing it in Serie A. And he's just doing it all over the place. And I think they should be through. I don't know if Juventus is through yet, but we'll find out Friday who they play in the round of 16. But no, it's a really good thing to see for Weston. I think he's an unbelievable player. I think he's one of our key pieces, because if you look at like some of our we talk about with the Lions, like there's 4 pillars. That's Amon-Ra, Goff, Sewell, and I forgot Hutchinson. And then for the U.S. men's national team, I think the 4 pillars, honestly, is a Tyler Adams, a Chris Richards, a Weston McKennie, and a Christian Pulisic. Obviously, Pulisic is the biggest one, but you look at those other players that are on the field. Those 4 players, which shout out Tyler Adams, he came back from injury this week, 66 minutes I think he played, 73 minutes, something like that. But those 4 players play constantly, week in, week out, in top flights. 2 of them in the Premier League, 2 of them in Serie A. And you could argue Pulisic is the best player in Serie A. You can argue that Weston McKennie is the best player on Juventus. Would I say, well, now Semenyo's gone, so maybe I could say Tyler Adams. No, I can't say Tyler Adams is the best player on Bournemouth. I can't say that. And then Chris Richards on Crystal Palace. I mean, they kind of stink now that Mark Gahey's gone, so maybe I could say Chris Richards is the best player in Crystal Palace because there ain't many players to truly pick from it at Crystal Palace. But Chris Richards doing his thing, and especially that's what I wanted to see after Mark Gahey left is, was it mainly Mark Gahey or was Chris Richards actually a pretty good player? But no, another player that is constantly playing well in a top flight, and that's exactly what you want to see. And hopefully we get another 4 years, minimum out of it. But again, it's still not set in stage. I know we're talking about that it is set in stage. It is not fully set in stage yet. It's just in the final stages, as reported yesterday, during the show, at the end of our show. That's what it was reported. But it is not finalized yet, but it's in the final stages.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, they're heading that way, and I mean, it certainly seems all but wrapped up. It's set in stone, by the way, is the saying, just so you know. Set in stone.
I'm just reading off Fabrizio's tweet. He just says it's in the final stages.
Oh, okay. All right. I got
it's
you.
not.
But
I read off the one and only Fabrizio Romano, which if you guys ever get a chance, check out that guy's screen time. He's reported during the transfer window, the summer transfer window. I think he's on his phone. I think a total of 18 hours a day because of just tweets.
Jeez.
Well, when you are the best.
Well,
and the lone reporter for European soccer, that's expected. How much you want to bet? What do you think Shams is going on during trade deadline, NBA draft, and
oh man,
NBA free agency? It's probably crazy.
Oh man, yeah, he's probably not sleeping. He's probably not eating. He's probably. I mean,
Fabrizio said he doesn't. He just basically just sits in a suit all day in case he's got to go on a podcast or he's got to go on some Sky Sports thing or some Spanish outlet and just report. He basically just sits there all day. And just like this, and he's getting, I mean, he's probably gone through 5 phones a year just because of how much he's on them. But, at the same time, I mean, he's the only one that does it, consistently. Dave Ornstein obviously does, but not to the level of Fabrizio. And the Here We Go is iconic. I will say this, though. I will say this. Fabrizio has ruined transfers. He has. Because there was always an element before Fabrizio Romano and social media got there. There was always an element of surprise when the player would eventually join the side. You'd always hear rumors of oh, they might actually sign this player. Someone's flying in today. They might have a medical.
So you don't know until he's out on the. You don't know until he's out on the pitch. Then.
No, you didn't know it until the club announced it themselves. You didn't know that a video was until the video was dropped, or which might be the greatest moment. The greatest transfer moment ever was when Mesut Ozil was brought into Arsenal, but nobody knew a thing. It was a deadline day signing with minutes to go on the deadline, and we sucked at that point. We needed a superstar, and then all of a sudden, there's this reporter outside the Emirates, and all of a sudden you start there was hints about it. Wenger would be something's coming, and everyone's like, well, what is it? Then all of a sudden, there's a reporter set outside the Emirates, and 100 Arsenal fans see this reporter, and they're like, what is he saying? And they go behind the reporter, and they're like, what is he? They are you basically, how Michigan basketball sits behind Dusty May when there's an interview going on? Picture that, but 100 crazy fans just trying to figure out what they're saying, and all you hear is, Mesut Ozil will be an Arsenal player, and they just maul the poor reporter. They start freaking out, going crazy. Now, since Fabrizio, he's kind of ruined it all. Just because of you get an update, so and so's here, so and so's here, so and so's here. It's already agreed. Just waiting on this. We'll say he's ruined that, but he's a really good. He does a really good job with his job.
Yeah, I mean, thank God for reporters and getting in there and trying to break news because I always look out for Woj bombs and stuff and.